Today, maybe telling a little story, reminder from my notes on how I came in contact with the queen of open source. Open source is a massive thing in the world, in the tech space. Anyone in tech knows what open source is. And it's a monumental and fundamental thing for humanity. It's the idea of just sharing knowledge, of sharing the source code that exists in a product. And Christine Peterson has recently joined Persist Ventures and is the person who coined that term basically the same year I was born. She had also created this foundation called Foresight Institute, which is the nonprofit that she ran as part of for 37 years, which had people like Sergey Brin, Larry Page, Peter Thiel, all be a part of it way before they were billionaires. Her foresight is A1, and I'm so glad that she saw my own foresight with where the future's heading and decided to come out of retirement unexpectedly to join me at Persist Ventures and our own new philanthropy called Systemic Altruism, focusing on the core driver problems in this world. A venture side, of course, just really helps us do that. I'm fully impact-based. I fully just want to do nonprofit stuff. But at the end of the day, I also like being radically self-reliant and just making money in order to invest it myself back. And that's what I've been doing for a while. It's ups and downs for sure. I've made such awesome friends. One friend who I came to after my trip in India was Tom. Tom Schultz was someone who I helped inspire to leave his job, who went and raised a couple $1 million to start a project called Together. And this was focused on bringing a software stack for co-living houses who often had problems with dishes and these common things. And Tom has since evolved that into this bigger network state. And one of the OG guys in this network state idea, the idea of creating new cities, is named Patrick Friedman, who was funded and co-founded the Seasteading Institute, the idea to build charter cities on the water in the future, with Peter Thiel. And while they're not building cities yet, they're kind of prepping for what the future holds with AI and our capability to decrease the cost of manufacturing absolutely massively. Until then, they throw an event called Ephemerisle every year. So I went up with Tom, met Patrick, had a great time. He invited me out to this thing. That's where I met Christine. That's also where I met Jim O'Neill. There's a really funny story with Jim O'Neill. I originally applied to this thing called TL Fellowship. Peter Thiel, again, started a foundation where he gives $100,000 to students to drop out of college to go after their big dreams. When I looked into this fellowship, I was like, wow, they only accept 20 applicants. There's tons of applicants. It's unlikely I get accepted. But when I saw their numbers of how much these companies became worth, the likes of Figma, which sold for 20 billion, Vitalik Buterin, the second biggest cryptocurrency in the world with hundreds of billions of dollars inside of it. These world-shaping companies, the list goes on, of billionaires created from that program, is just such proof to visionaries who are young. Give them a foundation to build off of is a really good investment strategy. Don't over-inundate people. I'm so glad Tom raised $2 million, but it's a much more efficient model just to get someone to have at least a salary to go after their idea. I was personally like, pay me minimum wage, take 50% of my company. I just want to work on my big ideas. And that wasn't an opportunity I got the blessing of. So I pitched that as a model to Thiel Fellowship as what I could build. And I also pitched the idea of doing a PayPal to Ethereum exchange. Ethereum was beginning to pop off at this time. It was 2017. And I was making all my money at this time selling Bitcoin and Ethereum for PayPal manually on forums. I knew it could be automated, and no automated exchange existed. So I ended up not getting accepted into Thiel Fellowship, building that PayPal to Ethereum exchange and doing $500,000 in the first 4 months of getting it live. Totally organic, bootstrapped from nothing while I was eating ramen in my dorm room. Venture capital typically invests much bigger amounts into people just from MIT, Stanford, or who are connected to the Bay Area in some form. There's a lot of nepotism. It's inefficient at actually just, bringing the best out of people, and it's inefficient at giving them that capital just to work on their dreams. Even so, then I've heard stories of Thiel fellows who have gotten 100 grand and just started smoking a lot of weed. So my version called Tadpool of basically bringing that towards a salary model where you get minimum wage, you're almost almost employed to be a visionary is much more effective in that sense that it makes sure that someone's also dedicating the time. Some people are naturally motivated, but a system always helps. I've come full circle meeting Jim, who started this with Peter Thiel, and currently talking with him about, setting this forth in motion with raising a fund together for the college that I partnered with in India to build this directly into the college. It's like, why is this just not a part of educational institutions, is saying, hey, don't sell your entire life, see what you can create. Do you have big ideas? Try and create them. Let's support that process, which is honestly one of the best ways to learn. Just like a little bit of Montessori method is amazing. Obviously, so many great people came out of this Montessori method, which is somewhat of more of a self-taught but structured learning, such as Jeff Bezos, and there's Mahatma Gandhi, many more. So I have created a system prior to kind of thinking about going into the school networks to recruit CEOs or people who want to be founders just off job market. So I'll post a listing saying, looking for CEO for this idea. And that's how I'm currently building all of my AI projects, which are funding my life and funding all my new ideas. I'm somewhat using a human-powered AGI, which is the term for artificial general intelligence. And what we did was I got 5,000 applicants for Christine Peterson's startup idea called Neighborgood. The idea was to build an AI agent who could connect people within a neighborhood just by you speaking to it and telling it kind of what you want, when you like to go on walks, getting coffee, etc. And I think it's really smart of her to drill down to the core of the fact that we need to bring back that sense of local community and that sense of connection, because it's all about human connection. That's how we become resilient as a global organism. And AI is perfect at being that kind of super connector. We ended up, doing a job-a-thon is what I call my recruiting process, where we send out the idea and we say, build an MVP, show us that you can do it. We had 3 people build some really cool stuff that we ended up onboarding to that team. We're continuing to test in specific niche markets of their local neighborhoods this product. And we hired them as interns because Christine wanted to do this just at the best rate possible. And I was like, let's just go through internships in India. To be in the 1% of what you offer for an internship, it's $150 per month. So it's just like the most hyper resourceful, capital efficient method that also is having people out there extremely excited about this opportunity. And we do somewhat of a upfront test rather than looking at their resume or background or history of just like, what's your skills? Do you have skills and are you determined? And one person who we also onboarded on this team ended up not winning in the skill set, but they were just so determined and loved the idea. If you're so persistent, that's great. And at the end of the day, that's the name of my head company, Persist Ventures. So I have to support persistence. I think it's all about persistence and belief. I think that's one of the greatest things. And we went and took that MVP that these guys built, and we went in front of one of Christine's friends. Just the first thing, she set up a meeting and we went to an investor and we said, hey, check it out. And here's the pitch of where we're going. And this person agreed, who owns a venture capital firm. Obviously, people's entire lives are dedicated just to investing in projects, and thought it was a really great deal to get in at a $4 million valuation. So this really just like proved the summary of what I have been culminating and building towards is a more efficient system to turn venture capital into innovation. Way too many projects get billions of dollars. You have WeWork and all these different nightmare founders who just get tons of money. And the VCs say there's not enough good founders in the market who really want to try. And then there's so many founders out there who want a shot. And so there's just this like lack of that better system of facilitating and rolling out a red carpet to the founders to get them onto the exponential life path. And that's exactly what I'm planning to do on a bigger scale. So we were so stoked, Christine and I, to get Sonia Erickson, who's an amazing investor, to agree to put in. Christine hit up another friend who's a VC, had a call with them. They agreed to put in money. And that's when she was like, look, I'm coming out of retirement. I'm not really down to be a CEO. I'm not ready for that. Will you be my co-founder on this? I was initially just doing this somewhat but as I went to some of the Foresight events before and thought Christine's amazing and just wanted to support in a general way. I sometimes actually sell this service. That's a company that I run, is doing staffing using this automation on the job website that I use to find my own best people to build my own ideas. So I use it internally and then also sell it externally. Another person I met at Ephemerile, the boating event, who runs IdeaFlow, a 50 million company. He has now hired 7 people, and we've done multiple different projects and stuff in order to find those people. So super exciting. Shout out to Jacob Cole, super deep thinker and amazing person, and really excited to work with him more. We're doing one project where Persist Ventures is doing a JV and having part ownership in it. So it's so cool for me just to run my system, to find the right founders for an idea, put them in there, and then have people so excited about the cost of getting that done, or the cost of bringing their idea to life, or the cost of adding new amazing employees to their business. And so that's sort of where I'm at, is I solved the talent problem through just finding the best humans. You can kind of do anything if you're really efficient at doing that. So I have this really big vision for myself and my capabilities to start doing storytelling and building all the most important projects in the world, and kind of having an entire ecosystem become important in the world, and do these hackathons in person in India with hundreds of people. Just combine this aspect of bringing large groups of people together to compete on things that Mr. Beast does, also with the energy of Elon Musk of focusing on tech and focusing on stuff which is really important for the world. And so the middle of that I see as just the philosopher, entrepreneur, tech founder who vibes and tells that story. That's who I want to be. That's who I want to live by. And so I had to tell Christine, and was able to then share my bigger vision with her when I was denying becoming a co-founder for this specific thing, because I'm this is where I'm really heading towards, and super excited about. And we ended up just continue to talk about what that looks like and what that bigger vision is, and that ultimately got her to want to be a part of Persist Ventures, to roll her idea Neighborgood into that bigger ecosystem and become our chief strategy officer, maybe chief foresight officer. She's someone I had read about online and know is such an important person for me to have behind me with all that wisdom of the space and all the foresight. And I really feel blessed to be seen. I feel really seen, in my endeavors that I've been going after completely outside of the venture capital market. Somewhat looking at how do I enter this, and just like my friend Tom, who I helped convince through me doing my own businesses, where I'm just being scrappy and making profit, running my CBD manufacturing company and my web dev company, and got him to leave his job, and he goes and raised $2 million at a 12 million valuation 4 months after. And that's when I realized, wait, I'm not dreaming big enough. After I didn't get accepted to Teal Fellowship, and my exchange, which went crazy big, sadly got hit by some fraudsters who used fake passports to verify their accounts and basically stole from the exchange, which happens to all exchanges. They just normally have funding to cover it. I just got targeted really early and, started with nothing, went back to nothing. And that's what made me end up just going into real products. Okay, this is tangible. I'm just good at business. I created this video that I sent to Christine, which I think is really worth watching. One of my favorite ideas is on this idea of Empowerverse and fixing media, fixing our information machine, which can be thought of as the nervous system of our global organism. We're all interconnected. We're all like cells in a greater, bigger body. And currently we sort a majority of all the information we share with each other based on an engagement algorithm, which is basically a soul-sucking demon who wants to keep you on that device as much as they can. It's become a thing which has turned our devices into the vices rather than being used as a source of empowerment and inspiration and energy and motivation. We don't sort videos and feeds based on maximizing value for people. This seems like an inevitability, and an inevitability that is becoming more necessary as we see suicide rates increase and mental health become a major problem for young people whose brains are literally getting hacked by technology created by the people people who are the smartest in the world with billions of dollars to train these models on. What's awesome is that we are counteracting that. We actually have an app live, Viable, the Bloom Scroll. There's an idea of doom scroll, which has become a big thing because people recognize they just scroll for way too long. And then it's like, you don't really want to do this, but it's somewhat like a drug. And so we created a version of this that it exists in its infancy. And I've just been focusing on the tech foundation of different projects in order to bring that to VCs and then get bigger marketing budgets to really bring these things to life. And also just got my 501c3 filed on the philanthropic side, where at the end of the day, of course, I'm going to engage with support for this bigger mission. My goal is to literally be the most efficient charity in the world at turning capital into change. And I think the focus on systemic change, on looking at the core driving functions of problems in the world and focusing on targeting that, is actually how you do that most efficiently. If we think of the world itself, as a boat and the problems that come in as holes in our boat, then one thing we can do is bail water. But if those holes are getting bigger, unless we go down and patch those holes, bailing water is basically meaningless. It's really sad to say because there's so many videos of charity happening that looks great, but nothing's actually going on. Also, the biggest loss is the charities, which are ghost charities. They don't even show what they're doing or tell their story, and you're not really 100% sure how efficiently that money is getting used. And we have systems in this world that aren't as efficient as they can be. And me coming from a father who's frugal as can be, not even having a gas mower, really was an adversity that's became my greatest strength now. So thank you, Pops. Thank you for staying frugal. It is really time to bring this all to life on a much bigger scale. I wanted to give an update to where my story is at and just how things are coming full circle as I was looking at this potential of my life earlier on and then really hoping to bring it to life, and kind of went through a period of learning and building and thinking that I think has set me up so well to take my story to the world stage, take all of my ideas and bring them to life. Because these ideas that I hold close to my heart, like this Empowerverse thing, which I'll link in the description, I think dives into this concept that once you understand it, it's a sense of existential hope for humanity. Something that a lot more of the world needs is answers or positive storylines or narratives that counteract a lot of these scary storylines, which are seeming running us off of the edge of a hill. We don't need to go off the edge of the hill. We can build a bridge in order to go to Terabithia, and I'm trying to build that bridge. So thank you so much for following. Let's live long and prosper. Cheers.